If you're considering relocating to suburbs around Columbia, South Carolina, you're going to want to watch this video because not only could it save you thousands of dollars, but it can save you a ton of wasted time. You know, it's fun to make the videos about the things they don't tell you about South Carolina, the bugs, the humidity, the hurricane, the politics, the thing that get the views going and the comments coming in. But can I be real with you? Those aren't the reasons that people regret moving here. Most people can see past all of that stuff. But I've had the ability over the years to help over 100 people buy and sell right here in the Midlands of South Carolina. And I've helped just as many through my videos and through my free guides on my website realize this wasn't the area for them, saving them tons of time and wasted money. And so I'm going to break those things down to you. What are the real reasons people regret moving to Lexington, Columbia, and the Lake Murray area? And the last one you'll want to stick around for, because to be 100% honest, it's the main reason a lot of you actually reach out and say, this is the area you're considering. But I've realized, unfortunately, all the things online make perspective not always meet reality. And in the end, I will tell you who the area is for, who should consider moving to this area. But first, we got to dive into the things that make people regret it. So we're starting off with a big one. One of the big things I hear from people, especially those coming from out west, down in Florida, Texas, and others, or those that have visited those areas and next and down in Charleston, is the difference in the master plan communities. So in the Columbia suburbs, we don't have nearly as many sprawling, high-amenity neighborhoods that are within reach of stores, schools, and shopping that you'd find in places like Austin, California, Phoenix, or even next and down in Charleston, and especially on the Lexington side of town. Yes, in some of the more urban areas of Columbia, you have places like Lake Carolina, Wood Creek Farms, and the Summit, and a ton more country club neighborhoods. But even Lake Carolina, that I'm in now, only has this small downtown. The big grocery stores and most conveniences are minutes up a busy road. Realistically, you would have to drive to get there. Irmo is mostly older established neighborhoods with voluntary HOAs, so no amenities, few sidewalks versus true subdivisions. I mean, you could potentially walk in some of them where they have connections to local parks and things like that, and the Harbison neighborhood specifically has a trail that leads to the mall. But outside of that, you have neighborhoods like Ascot and Chestnut Hill Plantation, which are made up of a variety of subsections and have clubhouses, tennis courts, pools, trails, and more. But again, those are not going to be within reasonable walking or even safe biking distance to local shopping, and especially where people ask the most, over in Lexington, with more of that suburb feel. The closest you'll find is neighborhoods like Saluda River Club, but it only spans 235 acres versus the 1,850 acres that makes up Lake Carolina. Add in all the shopping over there, still about 5 to 10 minute drive. You likely would not survive if you tried to walk or ride a bike to any of it. With that said, I mean, there's still great communities in Lexington like Longview, Summer Lake, and more with, you know, walking trails, pools, and neighborhood events and amenities. And like I said, Saluda River Club, who has a gym, adult pool, lounge, but again, they're smaller and less standardized compared to those larger states where it seems like it's the norm to build these master plan communities around all the shopping complexes, schools, and more. And I know this can be a big shift if you're used to those large, all-inclusive neighborhoods where you could walk, grab a bite to eat, ride the bike to go grab some ice cream with the family, play pickleball with your neighbors, hit the gym, all within walking distance, or even a golf cart ride. Something so many of you ask about, and I get it. Look, I grew up in a city that felt like the entire city was master planned. I walked and rode my bike to school from elementary all the way through high school. So this was a big shift for me, letting go of that type of lifestyle. Still something I struggle with, and if you watch my Charleston versus Columbia video, I dove into that more. But it is one of the big reasons I hear people say the area is not for them. They really are seeking out those master plan subdivisions that are in walking distance to shopping, schools, ice cream shops, and so much more. Let's talk about the entertainment. I get this question a lot. What is there to do around here? And here's the honest truth. Columbia isn't a major metro area like Charlotte, Atlanta, a lot of these places in Florida, or even the tourist town of Charleston right here in South Carolina. I mean, while we have some college bars, upscale restaurants, a minor league baseball stadium, country line dancing spots, University of South Carolina Gamecocks football, basketball, baseball, the variety just isn't on the level of these larger cities or tourist towns of things to do. I often get people that ask where they can go out dancing. I mean, if you want to go line dancing or get your freak on with some college kids, I got you. And you know, some local restaurants might do music nights where people get up and do a little dancing, but it's just not going to be the variety and the level that you see in these other areas. And again, we have the Colonial Life Arena and the Kroger Center for ours, but this does not compare to the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte or the Mercedes-Benz Center down in Atlanta. And one day we may get lucky and Williams-Brice Stadium will start hosting concerts, but until then, if you're someone who needs constant activity, keep in mind the entire state of South Carolina's population is less than Los Angeles County's population alone, which is wild to think as someone who moved from Los Angeles County here to South Carolina. And so the demand just isn't there for all of these amenities. I mean, as people are moving here, we're seeing more and more come, but most feel that the college is dominating the city more and more, and it's just all geared towards college kids. And of course, the suburbs, they have their fair share of events, concerts, and movies at their amphitheaters, but I know a lot of young professionals and even retirees get kind of bored of the events and they just feel like they're more geared towards families and kids. And we're just getting started here. If these things are worrying you, you'll want to stick around because there's a lot more that people have told me are the true reasons they didn't move here. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Brandon. My team and I of local real estate agents have truly been helping people from all over the country relocate right here in the Midlands of South Carolina, the Lexington, Columbia, and Lake Murray area. So don't hesitate to reach out. That way you don't have to go at it alone. Now, you've probably heard people say, it's a great place to raise kids around here, but may ask, what does that mean and what is there to do for them? And here's the reality. Well, I mentioned, of course, the occasional movie at the amphitheater, Santa visiting, and so much more. What I found, a great place to raise kids often translate to a boring town with good rated school. So there's less opportunity for kids to get in trouble, right? But I get it. Places like the zoo, adventure, the museum, the parks, the trampoline parks, and so much more can get old really quick. And the winters just feel too cold and rainy to go outside to a movie at the amphitheater, go to the park. Most tend to want to just stay at home, bundled around the fire until it warms up. Or too hot and humid during the summer to do anything. So those of you that are coming from places like Florida and are used to Disney, Universal, beaches, or even on the West Coast with all the amenities, or those towns and cities that many of you tell me about that there's a ton to do for the kids, I'll be honest, many have told me this isn't it. Now, of course, if you enjoy outdoor activities like fishing, tubing down the lake, and in the river, you'll have that here. As well, I tell people, especially if your kids are into sports. As someone who has kids in sports, they take them pretty serious around here and they'll take up a lot of your time. What I like to call the Trader Joe's dilemma. Look, a lot of y'all reach out and ask, hey, where's the neighborhood and the area that's close to the Trader Joe's and Costco? And just being real, Trader Joe's and Costco are on complete opposite sides of town. That's right. And I know Trader Joe's and Costco might not be the deal breaker, but it puts you into perspective the size of the area. A lot of those amenities and things that you like might not be in close proximity. I mean, to be 100% honest, we don't come to Trader Joe's that often, even though we love it, just because it's too far of a drive, right? But again, some of the amenities you love may not be here either. No Apple stores, no IKEAs, and things like that. Keep in mind, a lot of you tell me that you're fleeing cities that just got too big too fast. And so that's why I have a lot of those amenities, right? I tell people all the time, despite what they think about putting on Facebook that you want a Trader Joe's in your town, that's not how they do market research. It's based off of population, income, and so many other things. And because we're not a big area comparative to some of these other areas, that's why you don't have all these things. That's why I say, don't be surprised if some of the amenities aren't close to you or they just don't exist. And again, don't forget, this isn't even the top deal breakers. We still have a lot more to cover. Now, that rolls us into the next one. It's 2 rule. That's right. A lot of people are tending to kind of push out of the suburbs and urban areas, looking for a little bit more land, trying to get away from the traffic and all the congestion that comes with suburbia. But one thing that you realize real quick is it gets rural really fast. I mean, if you've watched any of my driving tours, many have commented this. You go from suburbia and urban to middle of nowhere real fast. Oftentimes, people are kind of looking for that happy medium where they get a little bit more space, a little bit less traffic, but not too far from those conveniences. And don't get me wrong, there are some areas around here, but it oftentimes comes with a high price tag. And we'll dive into that a little bit later, as well as the actual statistical densities of these areas to give you a real idea. But for many, they're often taken back by how rural things get just on the outside of town. And keep in mind, I tell people all the time, there's different kinds of rules, right? A lot of people say, I love rural living. And what they're thinking about is those 2 lanes road with horse fences and horse farms. But keep in mind, this isn't Nashville. We have more manufactured homes than any other state. Our rule is either grandfathered non-zone areas where it's just kind of a whole lot of random things on every corner, tree-lined road with a mix of those manufactured homes, older ranch homes, and then, some random custom homes. You have a lot of crop farms on the southern and west part of Lexington. And then again, lots of Dollar Generals and manufactured homes. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but a lot of people aren't expecting that. And I exaggerate these explanations a little bit, but many have expressed that. And for those that have visited, leave a comment, drop your perspective below so others can see your experience. Now, on the contrary, one of the other big things I've heard is it's a lot busier than people think. That's right. Many coming hoping for a small town feel and small town suburbia realize real quick, the area's grown a lot. I've talked about it many times how the most common place I hear this is right here in Irmo. The population of the town makes it seem like small town America. People are hoping for that quaint downtown, small town feel, but they quickly realize it's very commercialized and urban feeling. Many times people that visit Irmo ask, where's the downtown? All I saw was the mall and the shopping centers. And I tell them that's pretty much it, right? Irmo doesn't have a downtown like Lexington, Blythewood, and others do with this quaint little 2-way street. They do have the park with all their events, but everything else is pretty commercialized. So that's why many times it feels a lot busier to people than they originally think. And this goes even beyond just the downtown areas. You've probably seen the comments. Traffic in Lexington, Northeast Columbia, and others are just not what people are expecting. While the metro area itself is massive, it's just not as spread out. There's a densely populated circle around Columbia rolling into the suburbs. And once you leave that, the density drops significantly. And this is going back to the numbers I was telling you about for the rural areas. So to give you an idea, Lexington has a density of 1,962 people per square mile. The next rural town over is Gilbert. They are at 563 people per square mile. The other side of town, Northeast Columbia, has a density of 5,120 people per square mile. Next neighboring rural town over is Elgin, and its population comes in at 485 people per square mile. Yeah, it's that much of a difference. So that's why I can say some of those explanations of the areas aren't that exaggerated. So before we dive into who the area is for, we have to talk about one that's probably going to surprise a lot of you: cost of housing. So believe it or not, home prices is probably one of the biggest reasons I see people not buy here. I get it. Our price is well below the national average. And so home prices are great compared to the majority of the country. It's the main reason that many of you actually reach out. But I have learned the hard way, it often sets the wrong perspective of wants and needs, not meeting the reality of pricing. That's why I'm gonna go show you a couple neighborhoods that I provide on my self-guided tour guide that's over on my website for free. So that way you can get an idea of what prices actually get you, so that way you don't set the wrong expectations when moving here and aren't one of the ones that show up and are disappointed when expectations don't meet reality. All right, so we are getting kicked off in this new construction neighborhood in just a little bit. We're gonna be diving into some resales as well as some different price points. This new construction neighborhood here, to give you an idea, is gonna be right around that average price point, the lower 300 mark on average. Some a little bit lower and some obviously higher. And I want to give you that perspective, obviously the styles of homes, the lot spacing, because again, this is pretty standard for this price point, whether you are looking in Northeast Columbia, over here in Lexington, near Lake Murray. Of course, there are some neighborhoods that might be a little bit higher and a little bit less, but hopefully this gives you an average idea of what to expect for that price point. Again, we are going to dive into some higher price points as well as some larger lot sizes and resales too. So let's go take a look, but hopefully this gives you a good perspective of what you can get in that average price point with new construction. And if you haven't watched any of my other videos, the grass is just dormant right now. It's in the off season. By the time you guys watch this, it's probably gonna be green again, so don't judge their lawns. All right, so now we're out in a neighborhood in Northeast Columbia with larger lots, as you can see. And now to give you an idea, this is gonna be a production builder. These are not gonna be customizable houses. You come in, you take it as it is. And to give you an idea, price in this neighborhood, you're talking about $550 to $650. If you're looking for more semi-custom where you can go in there and make those changes, larger lots, from what I've seen averaging around $750 and up. So hopefully this gives you an idea of new construction, but I know not all of you are looking for new construction. So let's dive into the resale market as well. All right, so in the resales, we're getting kicked off in this neighborhood here. And to give you an idea, it's probably in the 10 years old, maybe some newer, some a little bit older. We will dive into some of those more older established neighborhoods in just a little bit here. But to give you an idea, the homes in this neighborhood, as you're taking a look, do come in right around the average price point for our entire area. And to give you a little bit of perspective, we're about 15 minutes from downtown Lexington. You have a community pool, community playground, as well as a community pond over there. So again, hopefully gives you an idea in the resale world what you can get for your money. But again, we'll dive into some that are a little bit older established, as well as some that have larger lots and, you know, those estate style homes that many of you ask about. Now, I know some of y'all are looking for older established neighborhoods. Well, this neighborhood I'm walking through right now, talking about that 60s, 70s, 80s houses. Now, you can definitely find houses right around that average price in this neighborhood. Now, with that said, I've shown a lot of them. A lot of times they tend to be time capsules, or if they have been updated, they're, you know, those investor updates. If you're looking for something more modernized in this type of neighborhood, you're gonna have to bump that price up above the average in order to find that in a neighborhood like that. That's just been my personal experience. All right, so this neighborhood here, we're talking about half acre or more lots, some even over an acre. In here, your established neighborhood, tree-lined streets, estate-style homes. And to give you an idea, there's also a community clubhouse, pool, tennis courts right around the corner. And then, of course, the sidewalks. We're only, truthfully, about 10 minutes from Harbison Shopping, so you're really close to everything, including Lake Murray. Now, with that said, to give you an idea, this neighborhood in here, you're starting about mid-500s just to get into the neighborhood. Average though is about mid-700s to hopefully give you an idea. Now, of course, with that said, there's option in between the highs and lows I showed you, but I wanted to give you a good perspective. And to dive into this further, to give you an idea, our current median price at the time of making this video was $270,000. So I pulled homes that sold over the last 90 days between $265,000 and $275,000 to give you an idea what that gets you. So the average square foot came in at 1,896, with the median lot size coming in at 0.15 acres. And that's our entire area. So you're talking everything from suburban to urban all the way to rural. So expect closer to some of those town areas to not get you as much, and then the further out you get, maybe a little bit more. Now, the average price at the time of making this came in at $313,000. Homes sold in the last 19 days between $310,000 and $315,000 on average were 2,169 square feet, with the median lot size coming in at 0.2 acres. So keep in mind, if you're looking for more than that, it's gonna cost more. You may just have to push further out of town to find more land and more house. And remember, with the lack of master plan communities, anything with an array of amenities is going to be costly. I mean, I know a lot of you ask about gyms. I can only think of 2 neighborhoods in Lexington that actually have community gyms. You're gonna have Saluda River Club, and to give you an idea, they average around $664,000. And then Harbor Watch, it's a neighborhood on Lake Murray. Now it's out in Batesburg, which is a kind of more rural western part of Lexington, and their average came in around $860,000. And even going back, Lake Carolina. So inside the neighborhood, there's a YMCA. So many times people feel like the price just kind of adds up because you have the HOA dues, the master HOA dues, and then if you do decide to join the YMCA, their membership, and then of course, if you decide to join the lake membership to take your boat out, you're gonna have to pay for that too. So in the end of the day, many ask, who's this area really for? Who does love it here? Right? I mean, between the hurricanes, humidity, the new construction neighborhoods with postage stamp lots, and those older established neighborhoods with just outdated homes. But let's be real, South Carolina is one of the top 3 states people are relocating to, and the Columbia, South Carolina metros have grown year over year. And just recently, the city was recognized as a top 5 Southern city on the rise, according to Southern Living magazine. So It begs the question, who does love it here? Who is the area for? So I tell people, those looking for charming suburbs with quaint downtowns, this might be the place for you. This area is for people seeking maybe those smaller neighborhoods that don't care for the hustle and bustle. A place where outdoor adventures thrive over amusement parks and venues, as we have multiple rivers, state parks, and of course the 50,000-acre Lake Murray. For boating, fishing, kayaking, tubing, you can go out on bike rides, you have trails, and so much more. If you're looking for that slower pace of life, where family values are strong, remember this area is ideal because you can find some of the top-rated schools in the entire state of South Carolina. A place with enough amenities to live comfortably and have that nice night out on the town, but not feeling the need for the city to constantly entertain you. But it is a place with easy access to bigger cities, like Charlotte or Atlanta, to find those places. Vacation spots right around the corner like Charleston, Myrtle Beach. And let's be real, we've personally driven to Nashville, Tennessee, and down to Florida for Disney World cruises, the pristine Gulf Coast beaches, and so much more. Only a few short hours away without having to pay the insurance prices of those areas. And lastly, those looking to save on home prices, but understand what their budget equates to locally. If you're looking for that home on Lake Murray, if you're looking for the exclusive neighborhoods of Saluda River Club, Ascot, and more, understanding what that type of home costs. I've always said a lot of this comes down to perspective. I've had clients coming from Hawaii, New York, California, Arizona, and others that thought the home prices here were phenomenal, but just as many that felt everything was still overpriced or not right for the budget. And so that's why I say, if you can understand all of these things and it makes sense, Columbia, South Carolina suburbs, Lexington, Columbia, and Lake Murray might just be the perfect fit for you. Well, and if I haven't scared you away yet, my guess is that you are still considering the area. And if you are, you'll want to check out this playlist here, where I actually break down all these areas I talked about. Lexington, Lake Murray, Northeast Columbia, Irmo, and so many more, so you can see which place best suits your and your family's needs. And you'll want to click on that before YouTube forces you into a video that you weren't expecting to watch.